Joining me from London is Peter Vincent, former legal advisor to the U.S. Departments of Justice and Homeland Security. He's currently handling refugee and terrorism issues at Borderpol, an organization supporting safe and secure borders worldwide. Peter, how real is the threat of terrorism in the aviation industry today? Are we safer flying today than, let's say, 5-10 years ago?
Asieh, we are definitely safer flying today across the globe than we were 5 or 10 or even a year ago. We're also safer, but not completely safe in terms of using other modes of transportation like trains. I'm in London now, and I've been spending the past 2 weeks talking to counterparts here in the United Kingdom, and I was last week in The Hague in the Netherlands speaking to Europol authorities on counterterrorism issues. And of course, they are concerned about all sorts of vulnerabilities, to include modes of transportation. But the airline industry has done a great deal, along with the advice and the assistance of governments, to harden the airports themselves as well as to secure who gains access to aircraft.
So all these security steps we take when we go to the airport, going through various checkpoints, is this just simply giving us a false sense of security, Peter? I mean, we've all, gone through that, and we all ask ourselves, are these steps really, really making a difference here?
Asieh, some experts have argued that all of those steps that you've just articulated are actually security theater, and they are meant to make the traveling public feel safer. I truly believe that the traveling public should feel safer. Of course, we need to find a delicate balance between providing as much security as possible, while at the same time allowing people and goods to travel as freely as possible in order to support our respective economies. But I do believe that things are safer. It is, of course, a trade-off between security on one hand and ease of travel, and I think most people are willing to make that trade.
How much collaboration or sharing mechanism is there between the United States and its European partners? And what about countries in the Middle East, Asia, Africa?
The United States has robust information and intelligence sharing arrangements with the United Kingdom, perhaps one of our closest partners, as well as European countries. But what your excellent question also supposes is that the United States and our European and British allies also have information and intelligence sharing relationships with our colleagues and friends in North Africa and the Middle East, and that is an absolute true statement. Despite some of the political rhetoric that is tended to paint, for instance, individuals living in predominantly Muslim countries, we all still have very important working relationships with officials in those very countries that help make the globe much safer.
And it seems terrorism really has evolved. You and I have talked about this many times before. Vehicles increasingly being used as weapons. Do you feel there's still a sense of urgency now that terrorists are really using cars and trucks instead of airplanes?
I think there's a healthy sense of caution. I drove across the Westminster Bridge today, which, as you know, was one of the 5 areas where one of the 5 attacks have occurred this calendar year in the United Kingdom, and they have barriers put up there. I think the officials are taking it seriously, not complacent, but at the same time, they're allowing for people to cross important bridges and to take a look at very historic monuments and to go to museums in a way that is supportive of cultural interests, but taking into consideration perhaps them being soft targets and those being risks.
Peter, I finally have to ask you a question about President Trump's latest travel ban. 8 countries are on there, as you know. The latest, Venezuela, the DPRK, and Chad. Critics are saying this will actually make America less safe by discouraging those countries from really collaborating and cooperating with the United States. I mean, forget DPRK, but certainly Chad, a key ally in the war against terror.
I couldn't agree with you more, Asieh. I have always thought that the original so-called travel ban or Muslim ban issued very early in the Trump administration was poorly executed, ill-conceived, and a very, very counterproductive measure. It was not improved a few months later with the second iteration of that, and this most recent iteration, which as you point, includes a couple of other countries, only does further damage to our reputation in the United States as working with our allies. And I fear that in particular, you pointed out Chad, that is a very key ally to us in fighting groups like the Al-Qaeda and the Islamic Maghreb. And I worry that we have greatly offended officials there, and it will negatively impact our relations with them and our ability to share very critical intelligence and data.
We'll have to leave it there. Peter Vincent, thank you.